went to Preston Tech, and Jack was a school teacher there.
Right.
He was a PE teacher.
Yeah.
And we had 4 teachers there that played district cricket first. We were very lucky. It was Potter, Peter Burke, St Kilda, Dave Jenkins was uni, and I think Warren Smith, I can't remember his first name, was university. You know that they were good because they were like your friends, not your teachers. I remember Potter always used to wear his Australian jumpers, his long sleeve and his short sleeve, because he was a PE teacher and he had tracksuit pants on. So everyone used to store him with that. He was a good bloke as a teacher.
Yeah.
And he was our cricket coach and he was our baseball coach. Because Jack was a very good, well, we all know his cricket record, but he was a good baseball as well.
Yeah.
I think he might have played for Australia.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
I think there's something like that. He certainly played for Victoria and Preston Shield.
Yeah, absolutely. So he was good at both. So he was our coach. We were lucky to have him as kids. We used to have the annual teachers versus student game every year, and that was a big grudge match, and it used to be on the Preston Oval.
Yeah.
And the year, it was like the year 5 boys. So we had the 4 district cricketers and a few other handy cricketers, teachers, so they'd always beat us.
Yeah.
And this day, Graham Fowler, Chuka, played for Preston Seconds. He bowled Potter. Right. Don't know how he did it, but he bowled him. We said to Potter, like, you let that go or something. He said, no, I was really trying to make it for the runs. And I think he only made 1 or 2. Yeah. And we ended up beating them. So I've always let him, always reminded him of that. But you know, Potter was a good teacher, and he used to look after us at cricket and baseball. He was good. And then I went to Preston, and I played a year there. I played a couple of years in the 4th, 3rd, 2nds, and then his first year there, I made the first as a young kid.
Yeah.
So I sort of got to know him better as a cricketer teammate rather than a student teacher. The first year he was there, I made the first. I was only 17, and I made a few runs in the seconds as an opener. And we were just walking out in the ground, and he said, we were bowling. He said, what do you want to bat? I said, I'll open. He said, we'll see. About the 3rd ball of the day, we had Brian Pert, who was loved to hurt people, and he cracked this bloke right in the mouth there and split his lip open, and like there was blood everywhere, and they carted him off, and there's blood all over the pitch, and I walked back, and I was in the slips. He said, you're not opening. I said, no, good decision, Jack. So, I played with him for 4 years. He was a great cricketer. He really was.
Looking back at the record, and I've forgotten some of the statistics, but clearly you had some of your best years playing under Jack as a batsman. You made a lot of runs.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I don't know how, but I did. Not because of Jack or anything else, it just happened. The first year I'd made a few, so the committee in their wisdom, I don't know why, but they made me the vice captain the next year.
So you're 20?
No, I'm 18. 18 and 19. And you were the vice captain, Jack Potter, who had come to us, and he was a revered person. Like he'd captained the Victorian Sheffield Shield side to win. In the next game he's playing for Preston. You know, so he's up there. He's made tours. He never played a test game. Unfortunately, he should have. I think it was because he was a Victorian. But he'd been on a lot of tours, and he'd been 12th man a few times. So he was a great cricketer, and he was a bit of a legend to us kids. So I'm his vice captain. I thought, this is going to go down well. But I think I was vice captain for 2 years. He asked me once my opinion. And I was about a bowling change. I said, well, whatever you think, Jack. Good answer. Good answer. It was just a token thing. You know, he was the boss. He was good, but he was a great cricketer. He really was. He could bowl a bit, but he never bowled himself. He might have bowled a few times, but he was a great batsman, a beautiful square drive and cover drive. I can remember a final at Ormond against Doble. And I'll never forget it. Doble was bowling 100 miles an hour. He was bowling really quick. And I think we were 2-0. And about the 3rd ball he bowled a Potter, he did a square drive. It was
just ripped into the fence.
I can never forget that. And I think a few of the Ormond blokes gone like this. You know, he was good cricket. He made a couple of tons, I think, at Preston.
He did.
he won 3 batting average out of 4. Pusher knocked him off one year where Pusher had a great year. 140 not out helped, of course, but that's the way it is.
Won the club championship.
4 years in a row. Yep, so because he made a lot of runs and his fielding was very good as well. I've seen him, he actually ran out of bloke. He was in gully, and the bloke sort of went out of his crease and Potter looked away and went like that, and he flicked it and threw the stumps down. And the bloke was out and Potter recalled him. He said, that's not really fair. It's similar to a man catch, but he just did it. He was that good.
I remember one catch he took in my first year, which was his last. You would have played. It was at Ivanhoe, and it was a bit of a wet track, so it was sort of slow and popping a bit, and Eddie was getting the ball on the perfect length, and he decided to field himself at leg slip. But it was the shortest leg slip I've ever seen. It was right on the edge of the wicket. And, of course, the inevitable happened. The guy turned it off his hip, and Jack's just gone bang, it was at pace, because Eddie in those days bowled pretty good pace.
He did.
Phenomenal catch. But the thing I always remember about Jack and his batting, and you would have been in this game, I think he made runs. We were playing Ringwood at the Jubilee Reserve, which was a big ground out at Ringwood. Good batting conditions. 8 ball overs back in the day, and Jack was the last over before tea, and Jack was pretty set, and they had on the boundary a backward point. They had a cover point, a cover, and an extra cover on the boundary. All his strengths. And he hit 4 fours in a row between those fieldsmen, and it was a big boundary.
It was, That's the sort of player he was. He threw that arc there, he was brilliant. Really was. I can't remember that, by the way. I can't remember a few things 50 years ago.
Between the two of us, we'll get there, mate.
We'll get there,
So it must have been wonderful for you as an 18-year-old coming in and playing with Jack, who still was really at his peak, wasn't he, in terms of...
he was. He could have easily still been playing for Victoria. But I think he had 4 or 5 kids. No all boys, no all young, and district cricketers didn't get paid. Shield players didn't get paid much either, and he was a teacher. So he needed the money. He was on pretty good money at Preston. I'm pretty sure I know the amount. Differs a little bit, and Dick would know better than me, but it was a really large amount for a player in those days. And God, I kept it in his pocket as well. He was one of those, he always used to bot smokes and...
but that's the way. Legendary for that.
He was. That's the way. People didn't, and he was good. We used to have a lot of social functions, and he always spoke at the functions, and he always... had a lot of stories about tours and things, and he had a lot of great stories. Now he was very good value for the club because he bought so many players. That first year or the second year, I can't remember, he bought Pusher, Eddie, Brent Paul, Mark Luby, Greg Shanks. He came from Dubbo. He was a wheat farmer. A real tall.
Had a great season.
He did. He was a very unorthodox opening batsman, but he was good. And he'd come down from Dubbo to play with Potter.
And Jack recruited me in his last year. I was at Richmond, and he came around to see me at home, and I'm only a young bloke, and I'm thinking, bloody hell, the former captain of Victoria wanting to play with me. So I put my hand up straight away.
Fantastic. It wasn't really. I thought you just come along because of Potter. And Donny Hudson was another one, I think. So he drew a lot of players there, and they all ended up good players for Preston. So he was good value. And
we were a competitive side in the 4 years he was there. Probably didn't deliver big results in finals.
We made finals a couple of times. We just weren't quite good enough. But even after he left, we had a couple of down years, but then those players that were there, they stayed on, and we became pretty good.
Well, it was sort of, when you think about the club, we won the first 11 premiership, 63, 64, I think it was.
With Bruin.
Yeah, those guys. And we were a very competitive team through the 60s.
Yeah.
And through the 70s, we won a premiership.
Yep.
And then had a couple of lean years, but then we went through a golden era for through the 80s and 90s, right up to 2000. So it was a phenomenal period.
It was,
wasn't it?
It was, yep.
Yeah.
I wasn't there from 83 onwards.
Yeah.
I've been there from 65.
Yeah.
When the firsts were in our area, the seconds were very strong as well.
Yeah.
Very strong. And that was due to Naggers.
Yeah.
Naggers, but we're strong teams in seconds and thirds and fourths, so we're a strong club.
Yeah. Getting back to Jack, his knowledge of the game, as I recall, was like no one else I'd ever played with.
I'd agree.
Who had that sort of knowledge, and he'd look at a bloke's grip and make a field change. And I remember he was a great help to Eddie in terms of where to bowl and so on. How did you find him?
He picked up. I thought I was a good cutter.
Yeah.
I used to cut in the air.
Yeah.
And he picked up something with me once, and he just said, "Get in front of the mirror at home and play your cut shots, but stamp your heel there, your right heel really hard."
Yeah.
And that helped me so much.
Right.
And that Poro used to do that all the time.
Yeah.
It's a shot. So just little things like that. That's a funny story, but my brother, he played 3 or 4 games in the first, and he took up off-spin bowling, and he used to bowl these offies at train. He was pretty good.
Yes.
But Poro told him he had natural drift. Oh, he said, "You're like Fred Titmus. You've got natural drift." And everyone, so I think my brother played seconds. He bowled a few off. She'll use your natural drift more. And I told him, I don't know where he pulled that from. We still say to this day that he's a good bowler. He had natural drift.
Jack bowled pretty well.
Yeah.
And I've got a funny feeling he was one of the very first blokes who understood or developed the doosra.
Okay.
And I used to find batting at him, I couldn't actually read him at all. So he had a funny action.
He had a funny action.
Yeah.
I can't remember that. I'm sorry.
No, that's right.
Yeah. Interesting, yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he learned that from one of his tours. They may have stopped on the subcontinent on their way to England because they used to go by ship in those days.
They used to stop in lots of
places.
Yeah. They stopped in the Netherlands playing cricket, and he had a French go batting on the nets, batting on the mats. So they used to do lots of tours like that, which would have been interesting, would have been a great life.
Yeah. But, so the doosra, I think Jack's got a connection
there
with it.
Well, with Jack, you say he's innovative. We used to have a big gym at school.
Yeah.
And it was a new gym, and he invented these balls that I'm pretty sure, I can't remember, they were tennis balls that had plastic cover on them, or vice versa. They were plastic balls with a tennis ball cover. But we used to be able to play full cricket in the gym.
Right.
And I think with Preston sometimes, if it was wet,
we would go to the gym.
And these balls acted like a proper leather ball. Yeah. So he invented that, actually. I don't know whether he patented it or not, but he had lots of manufacturers because he knew them. So he made a lot of his balls quite good for indoor practice.
Yeah. Outstanding cricketer. As a coach, I recall he would not coach the group as such, but be coaching individually. He'd stand behind you at the nets and...
Exactly right.
Yeah.
He'd never spoke to the group.
No.
As such, but he'd pick out the brother, he'd pick out my thing. He'd pick out lots of players. He'd just sit there and someone was doing something wrong or he could improve, he'd do it. He was a good captain. Yeah. Very good captain, as you would imagine.
Yeah.
He was far and away above a lot of the blokes we played.
Yeah. As a young bloke, an impressionable bloke, I used to be in awe of the fact that, he's dropped down a couple of grades and he still attacked it on the field.
Oh, absolutely.
Very seriously.
I think most people would do that, but he did. More than a couple of grades stand for him.
Yeah.
All of a sudden,
Yeah.
from one game to the other, one season to the next.
Yeah.
But you're right, he did.
Yeah.
He was pretty ruthless when he played.
Yeah.
There were a few things he did and said, but the circumstances, but he sort of ruffled a few feathers with other clubs.
Yeah.
All within the rules.
Yeah.
He's a good man to have on your side.
What about the ruffling feathers? The game against Camberwell.
Yeah.
Set the scene. It's one of the early games of the season, so it's in October. It was wet. We were lucky to get a start, and it was a one-day game, or it was made into a one-day game because we'd been washed out on the previous week or whatever. Camberwell had a bloke, Jack Rose, as captain, who was a brother of the legendary Roses at Collingwood, or a cousin?
No, I don't think.
Oh, I don't think so. No, okay.
I knew Jack. He used to umpire us at junior footy.
Right.
So I knew Jack pretty well.
But he came from Collingwood Cricket Club.
He was a legend of Collingwood. He was captain of Collingwood for a long time.
Yeah. So no love lost, I suspect, between Jack and Jack.
Fitzroy and Collingwood.
Yeah, that's right. And anyway, we... I can't remember whether we batted... No, we batted second. We rolled them over for about 60.
Yep.
Or thereabouts.
Very ordinary wicket.
It was a very ordinary wicket. It was wet as.
Yeah.
And as it was drying out, it was sort of almost unplayable.
Yes.
And then we went into bat, and we quickly lost some wickets. And on the comeback trail, when this incident occurred, Brent Paul was the batter.
Brent was batting, and batting well because it was difficult. They were popping up all over the place. And my recollection of Brent, he was never a big hitter.
Yeah.
But he played bowling ball, and he got onto it sort of over mid wicket, and it's going to be a six. But there was a hand push roller on the ground where we used to leave, and the ball hit the middle of the roller, bounced right up in the air, and the bloke, caught it one hand.
Yeah.
And they appealed. And the umpires from that's out. I don't know if it was because it was a one hand or it was a catch, but the roll was part of the fence.
Yeah.
And in those days, if the ball hits the fence, it's a four.
Yeah.
Not like now.
Mm-hmm.
So it was really a four, not a six. People said it was a six, but it wasn't. So they appealed, and the umpires giving down. Brent, being Brent, the gentleman, just walked off. But we was, come on, you. So Jack sort of walked out to the umpires and explained, look, these are the rules, and said to Jack and Rose, now, Jack, you can withdraw that appeal. And Jack said, the umpire's already given it out.
Oh.
I can't, Jack. So